Welcome to Writer's Life, an ongoing conversation with writers, authors, and folks in the publishing industry. I'm your host, Marvel Harrison, Publishing Director, Mimbres Press of Western New Mexico University. It is a pleasure to share a conversation today with Sharman Apt Russell, an accomplished award-winning writer who has authored a dozen books translated into 9 languages. Welcome to Writer's Life, Sharman.
Thank you, Marvel. It's great to be here.
You've had a long and illustrious writing career. How did you even become a writer?
Yeah, it has been a long career, and I treasure that. I really do. There's a certain body of work and a certain depth of being a writer. You know, I actually was thinking about that the other day, because yesterday I got a card from my 4th grade teacher, Joy Dyer. Hello, Mrs. Dyer. So Joy and I have kept in contact for 60 years. She was my 4th grade teacher. And that's when I wrote a story about a pencil who wanted to go to a dance. I remember, the theme. And she made me feel that was interesting. She made me feel seen. She made me feel that was important. And so I'm one of those writers who decided to be a writer at the age of 8. And there are a number of us. And I've never looked back. I came to writing as a reader. I remember Miss Dyer reading books all the time in the 4th grade. And so I was a child of a single mom in Phoenix, Arizona, growing up in apartment buildings in this kind of city that's a little disenfranchised from its own landscape. Mm-hmm. Not put down Phoenix, but that's kind of how it was in the 60s. And maybe I felt a little disenfranchised from my own life. But, in books and children's literature, I could be so much more than what I was. I could be so much larger. I just devoured books like a lot of writers did. So I came to writing for the stories, for all those stories. And then I stayed because the act of storytelling is so satisfying.
Well, terrific. And I thank Mrs. Dyer also for
thank you.
sparking that, igniting that piece in you that has brought such wealth to the rest of us. I think go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have to say that I always thought I was her favorite student, but now there's reunions of that 4th grade, and it turns out we were all her favorite student. So I know. So public school teachers really are my heroes. So I just want to say that.
I don't think the future of the world is in the hands of those of us. You know what? I need to regroup on that. The future of the world does not lie in the hands of children. It lies in the hands who hold the hands of children.
Oh, that's beautifully said, Marvel. That's beautiful.
And that's why I think that we need to celebrate public school teachers. I think we need to celebrate educators everywhere. And
right.
It doesn't take that much to spark and ignite something in someone. They just want to be noticed and have a sense of belonging. So,
well, here I am remembering it 60 years later. Absolutely. That's where it started for me.
And you've stayed in touch with her too. So how beautiful is that?
It was. Yeah, it is.
Well, your writing has taken on lots of different ways. You teach also. Can you tell us a little bit about sharing your writing experience through being an educator? Yeah.
We came to Silver City, New Mexico, southwestern New Mexico, to be back to the landers, to build our own house and to live off the land, and we had a lot of dreams, and we thought we were on the cutting edge of environmentalism. If everyone did that, we'd all be transformed. So we were wrong, but we didn't have jobs, is what I'm saying. So I pretty soon got a job at Western New Mexico University teaching basic writing, developmental writing. And I did that for 20 years, and it was wonderful. It just opened a window into this community here, week after week after week of students writing these short papers and of entering into what makes a paragraph, what makes a short story. And then at Western, I started teaching creative writing. I started teaching graduates. I started teaching at Antioch University. So I certainly have got that range of writing skills, from the very basic to sophisticated writers who are about to, get their book published. and all of it has just helped me be a better writer. It's helped me be a better editor. It's been wonderful reading all their stories for, a long time. I just can't say how much it's been a two-way street, how much I've learned as a writer from teaching writing.
Well, how do you then combine, you have this, this interesting eclectic history of how you got back to the land and how you engaged in the natural world around you. You teach, you write. How do you keep writing as a focus in the midst of your busy life?
Yeah, yeah. In a way that's easy. It just is the focus. It is the priority. I'm lucky in that my golden times of writing are in the morning. So you can get up early in the morning. You can get up before the kids go to school. You can get up before your own, need to go to work. And I have found that I don't need huge blocks of time. And that's probably because I never had huge blocks of time. I could have become addicted to that if I had them available, but I just grab the writing time when I can. And so I also found that regular writing, an hour every day, 2 hours every day, and every day, the weekend doesn't mean I'm not writing. And a lot of that is because I love to write. You get up and you think, oh, I get to go work on that novel. I have to go finish that. I get to go finish that chapter that's kind of thorny and knotty about, Cotamundi and how they're interacting with the natural landscape. So you feel privileged and you get up and you grab the time you can. So it's not a contest between different desires. That is one of my big desires, is to get up and write.
And so it sounds like you actually do that most days of your life.
Most days of my life, absolutely. When I go on vacation, I do full-fledged vacations, but I always miss writing. And sometimes I might write something too. I mean, I've never, and this is important to me, I've never privileged writing over my children or over friends or over, community commitments, but it's never come up that they're in conflict. You can do them all. You're right. It's kind of busy, but it's an enjoyable busyness.
I don't think busy has to be stressful. I don't think busy has to be cumbersome. I think busy can be engaging. And it sounds like you're really invigorated and energized by your process.
I am. So I think this is true for most writers. So I was just writing this morning, and you get involved in that story. You're outside yourself. And that's, of course, what I wanted to be as a child, too, when I read. I wanted to be outside my life. I wanted to have a bigger life, a different life. So you're writing the story, and you're not in the ego of Sharman and taxes and this and, your problems. You're involved in the story, or you're involved in the essay. And I think that's very energizing and rejuvenating to not be centered in your personal life, but to be connected to your creative unconscious, connected to larger issues and things in the world. And then you can go back to your personal life. You can go back to your friends. You can go back to, dealing with your children. You can go back to cleaning the house.
Sometimes I think writers talk about, we need boundaries around our writing. And I think that boundaries are a construct of our identity. And when we know ourselves, we know how to engage in who we are. And it sounds like you've captured that really beautifully, and that this is an integral part of your essence of self.
Yeah, I think so. I have never done that thing to put a sign on the door, I'm busy, I'm writing. I never would have wanted to do that with my children. Now, I confess, just today, my husband came in a couple times, and I felt that, I'm in the middle of writing, but it wouldn't be worth it to me to remove myself from the world that way. I do think this is a discipline that you develop over the years. And believe me, if you're a young working mother, with young children, you develop it. You say, okay, now I'm in my bubble. They're taking a nap. I'm writing. And now I'm out of my bubble. You just learn to be very flexible and to and to again prioritize. If there's time available for writing, the writing happens. And again, it's because you enjoy it. You're drawn to it.
Well, you also have been able to integrate your lifestyle and your interests into your writing. And I'm thinking about, that I really believe you're a citizen scientist. And, can you tell us more about that part of your life?
Yeah. And again, this is kind of the long perspective of the writer. Sometimes you're engaged in a book or an essay and it's frustrating. And sometimes you're not getting published or you're not getting seen and it's frustrating. So I don't mean to say that it's all wonder and glory. But one of the greatest things about being a writer, I think, is that it gets you out in the world. It gets you talking to people you wouldn't otherwise talk about, but you're writing something. It gets you, for me, I've done a fair amount of immersion writing. If I'm going to write about citizen science, I'll have had some experience, but then I need to deepen and make it stronger. And so I'm going to go do even more citizen science. I took 2 years to study the Western, spotted tiger beetle, because that's what citizen science would do. Right now, I'm writing a book about wildlife tracking. It's also about wildlife management. It's about the health of wildlife in North America. But that's my impetus to get out there and learn more and more about tracking, wildlife track and ID. I went to Malawi, which I would not have gone to otherwise, because I was writing a book about childhood malnutrition. So each book, each major project has somehow forced me to get out of a comfort zone, to work harder, to get more engaged in the world. And, what a great thing that has been for me.
So when you have a project, do you come up with the project and then engage in pieces, or does the project kind of come to you?
It usually builds out of something I've already been doing. I had been doing a number of citizen science projects just out of interest. And then I saw what an extraordinary world it was, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people around the world, getting expertise in something that was totally outside their normal lives, as I was. So wildlife tracking, I've been around wildlife. We came here in 1981, lived in the Mimbres Valley, lived in Silver City, lived out here in the Gila. Wildlife, like a ribbon through our lives all the time. So it usually has a foundation in my life, and then I deepen it and strengthen it through writing about it.
You've mentioned a couple of things. You've had a long time interest in both hunger and the environment, and you wrote the book Within Our Grasp: Childhood Malnutrition Worldwide and the Revolution Taking Place to End It. And so you've been able somehow to blend your interests and produce something that really is so important in our world. And can you tell us about that project?
Yeah. It's a mouthful, isn't it? That subtitle. That was my editor's choice. But, they like long subtitles. They kind of explain the book. So I got a degree in conservation and natural resources when I was in college. And again, I was kind of reacting against Phoenix, which was kind of disenfranchised from the landscape. So I always consider myself a nature writer, an environmental writer, a science writer. When I became pregnant with my first child, and as I had young children, became a little obsessed about children and food. The idea that children in the world are dying for lack of food. When you're a mother and those hormones are going and you're breastfeeding, it just seems so impossible. It seems so wrong. So I tried to write about that then, 30 years ago. I did finally write a book called Hunger and a Natural History. And it was about voluntary hunger and about the grace of hunger, as well as about involuntary hunger. But I wasn't really satisfied with that. And then 12 years later, I wrote the second book, Within Our Grasp. And I did feel really ready then to show the connection of how our environmental interest are really aligned with our humanitarian interest. I came out of the 1970s going to college, and the population bomb, Paul Ehrlich, we were so concerned with population. And in that old school, and literally old like I am, an old environmentalist, something happened in which we thought helping people out of poverty, dealing with those issues, was somehow countering dealing with the issues of the planet, that people were bad, and we had to control their numbers, and it was as though the agendas were separate. But it's really true, and we have found out more and more the agendas are the same. When you end extreme poverty, you decrease population growth. When you help people thrive, you help the earth around them thrive. So I'm really I kind of avoid the word passionate, but I really am kind of passionate about that subject, that we can have both. And so I was glad in this book to be able to really address that. Global warming, childhood malnutrition, agroecology, to bring all those issues together, all the environmental issues of a flourishing earth with the issues of flourishing families.
And who do you see as the audience for that book?
Well, I hope to see the general public, but between you and me and anyone watching this, that didn't really happen. So, the book came out in the pandemic. It came out at a time we have this national trauma, our own health situation. It's kind of like asking someone who has, really poor health to care about the health of someone far away. You're engaged in your own trauma. Mm-hmm. So the book really crashed in terms of general sales. But what I did, and this was something new for me as a writer, I went and I just started contacting the people in the field, the people who work on childhood malnutrition. And I had contacted a number of them before, but as you can imagine, there's a lot of them. There are a lot of people out there working on that. So I have sent out literally thousands and thousands of free PDFs, free books, free Kindle copies. I'm just trying to reach my readers, the people who are in the field working on it. And that's been very successful. I'm really glad. Sorry, publishers, if I have to give the book away for free, that's okay, because, for a writer, it's solitary. You're doing it alone. You're engaged you like that, but there has to be that follow through. There has to be reaching out to people who see you and who hear what you're saying, and who get engaged, who participated in it too, because reading is a very participatory act.
Well, I've always thought that would be a fabulous, intro nutrition book, in a degree, in terms of, textbook style. I think it's very attainable. And I would encourage people to reach towards that, because it is such a critical topic. And I think the way you have the ability in your life is reflected so wonderfully in how one aspect just really impacts something else. If we take care of people, the world will be taken care of,
We hope that, and certainly it's not going to happen otherwise. If people are worried about their children, if they're worried about their health, if they can't turn out and take care of the earth too. And you're right, so I think it is being used now in some classrooms, and global development classrooms, global health, and so that's satisfactory.
That's wonderful. And just one last topic or question. How would you encourage people who are writing, who are writers? It as you said, it can be a lonely space or place in the world. And what would your words of encouragement be?
Well, right. And build the narrative for yourself that you're doing this for yourself, because it's an act that heals you. It's an act that engages you. It's an act that inspires you. Accept it as a privilege and a joy that you can do this. Don't get too involved in what you can't control. And that's the publishing world, or that's, how people respond to your piece. Stay centered in your love of writing.
That's wonderful. It's been a joy to speak to you today, Sharman, and thanks to everyone who's joined us. I'm Marvel Harrison, and from all of us at Mimbres Press, may your day be sparked with curiosity and wonder. See you again in the next Writer's Life.